All right, Shalom Akim, Shalom, Shalom. This is your brother Zakaria Allah, branched out here in Williamsport, Pennsylvania. Come with another lesson through the Spirit. Lord willing, this be edifying to the Lord's elect. Before I get started with this lesson, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Vachak, Wadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, whom I've grown in this truth under. Peace and blessings to the hopeful elect. All right, Lord willing, this will be pretty quick. But this is a video that was shared to me by beloved Akwath, you know what I'm saying? And as I was listening to it, you know what I'm saying, I just, I didn't even get too far with it. I just knew like, yo, I gotta, I gotta address this video because there's so much that's going on in this that needs correction. And I want to say this right now, all right, just to get this out there straight up, straight in the forefront. You women need to be quiet. All right. You women need to sit down, shut up, calm your ass down. Okay. Because you're doing too much out here, man. All right. You're doing too much. Y'all don't need to be out here on these videos, you know what I'm saying, showing your face and doing all this. All right. Going back and forth and all that type of shit, man. Leave prophecy to the prophets. You see what I'm saying? Leave the pushing of the scriptures and the doctrine to the men of the Lord. Stay in your place. You see what I'm saying? I'm gonna try not to lose my temper with this, you know what I'm saying? But this video, as you're gonna see, all right, it is nerve-wracking to say the least. You know what I'm saying? Coming from both these individuals, quite frankly. You know what I'm saying? All right, you women, you know what I'm saying, you put your head wraps on and you put fringes on dresses and shit like that, man. You know what I'm saying? And you think you're able to just open your mouth and start talking. No, stay in your place. You see what I'm saying? Because you need to get corrected just as much. All right, and all you females out there who think that you can just turn on the camera, all right, and just talk your shit. You see what I'm saying? You are out of order. I don't want to hear nothing about no Deborah or anything of this other sort, man. Because if you understand anything about that story, that was about Baruch. You see what I'm saying? It was about Baruch. It wasn't about Deborah. You see, Deborah was in order. If you want to get real funky with it, she was no more than grandma who would occasionally correct the grandchildren while Pop is away. You know what I'm saying? Just to give that analogy. That's all it really was. You see what I'm saying? She was not out of order the way you chicks is out of order these days, man. You see what I'm saying? You bring your feminist garbage into this truth. You see what I'm saying? No, man, it's time for you to start learning how to shut the fuck up, man. And I'm just going to be real blunt with this thing, man. You see what I'm saying? But nevertheless, all right, there's a lot of stuff that has to be corrected with this video, all right? And you're going to see an example as to why, all right, as to why we don't deal with these Christians, man, because it's literally a back and forth that leads to nowhere. Okay, we don't go debating these Christians. We don't go doing all this garbage, man, because it doesn't lead to edification. All right, it doesn't edify anybody. And our Apostle Tahar, Elder Apostle Tahar, was very clear on this matter. You see what I'm saying? So when these jokers come to our camps, you know what I'm saying, they start trying to introduce themselves and start going into Galatians and everything like that, man. We dismiss them real quick because it's always a circular argument, man. All right, and these same tired points that's already been talked about. It's already been explained. You see? It's already been explained. All right. Before I get started with this, let me go to the book of Isaiah chapter 8. All right. Isaiah chapter 8, verse 20. And it reads, to the law, all right, to the law and to the testimony. If they speak not according to this word, it is because there is no light in them. You see what I'm saying? And these Christians really think that they got something going when they really don't. All right, they really don't. They don't understand the basic foundations of what this is. Okay, but nevertheless, with that being said, let's jump into it. All right.
Honoring the Sabbath day that the Father has set apart for his children. I'm a Christian. Of course I do Sunday worship instead of honoring the Sabbath day that the Father has set apart for his children.
Hold on. I want to get in on this one. So, I'm an Israelite. So, of course, I don't understand that Jesus is Lord of the Sabbath and that our rest is not now found in the day of the week, but it's found in the person and work of Jesus Christ. And, of course, I've never read Colossians 2:16 and 17, where it says to let no man judge you in respect to any holy day or Sabbath day, because these are a shadow of things to come, but the substance is Christ. But, of course, I don't understand any of that because I'm an Israelite.
And this nigga Drewski is about to be destroyed, man. You see what I'm saying? This nigga Drewski is about to be destroyed. All these niggas about to be destroyed. You see what I'm saying? Real talk. The woman, all right, this bald-faced dude, and that nigga Drewski right here on the screen, they all finna be destroyed, man. Real talk. You see what I'm saying? But nevertheless, let me get this here in the book of Colossians chapter 2. All right. And let's jump to verse. All right, let's jump to verse 14. And let me get it in NIV real quick. It says, having canceled the charge of our legal indebtedness, which stood against us and condemned us, he has taken it away, nailing it to the cross. Okay, you have to understand what the law actually was. Okay, the law was a schoolmaster. You see what I'm saying? Get this nigga off the screen. All right. And this dude's no better. But anyway, all right. The law was a schoolmaster. The law was meant to lead us to Yahushua. Okay. The law was essentially to let us know that we are imperfect. Okay. The law itself is perfect, but we ourselves are not perfect. You see what I'm saying? And that was the whole point. All right. The point being is that we would need a mediator. Okay, when you go into the order of Aaron, okay, where the laws were inscribed under tablets, okay, we was to be known, all right, and set apart by the application of these laws. You see what I'm saying? And that's what was to put us above the rest of these nations. You see, but let me get this real quick. All right, bear with me. All right. So this is the book of Galatians chapter 3 and verse 24. All right, let me read it first in the KJV. It reads, wherefore the law was our schoolmaster to bring us unto Hamashiach, that we might be justified by faith. You see what I'm saying? If you understand the history, all right, you understand the history of how the children of Israel, okay, constantly went off in the scriptures, okay, there was particular loopholes that the Israelites had used, that the Israelites had exploited. You see what I'm saying? And those loopholes constantly made it to where we would do something. All right, something that was against or contrary to the law, and then we would quickly alleviate that with a sacrifice of a dove or a goat, you know what I'm saying, a sheep, you see what I'm saying, what have you. And after a while, what happened? All right, we ran that system to the ground. The Lord got tired of it, and that's where you get what happened. All right, here. Let me get this. All right. Let's go to Amos. Amos chapter 5 and verse 21. All right. It reads, I despise your feast days, and I will not smell in your solemn assemblies. Though ye offer me burnt offerings and your meat offerings, I will not accept them, neither will I regard the peace offerings of your fat beasts. Take thou away from me the noise of thy songs, for I will not hear the melody of thy vows. All right. But let judgment run down as waters, and righteousness as a mighty stream. You see what I'm saying? So the law was our schoolmaster. The law was here for a purpose. You see what I'm saying? Again, Galatians 3:24. Wherefore the law was our schoolmaster, to bring us unto Hamashiach, that we might be justified by faith. Back then, it wasn't justifiable by faith. You see what I'm saying? You couldn't just sit here and say, I believe, okay, and I'll do these works, I'll do these works and have faith in the matter. No. All right, no. Back then, it was simply by the letter of the law. You see, it was a very strict system, so much so that if you got caught gathering sticks on the Sabbath day, you was to be killed on the spot. You see what I'm saying? On the spot. So the laws themselves are perfect, but they were given to us in these mortal flesh. All right, in these bodies that constantly go off, that constantly sin, was subject to sin. You see what I'm saying? Even Paul himself had said, "Oh, wretched man that I am." You know what I'm saying? Because that which I would not, that I do, and that which I will, I do not. You see what I'm saying? And he said, "It's no more." Roughly paraphrasing, but it's no more me, but the sin that dwells within me. You see what I'm saying? The body is constantly subject to sin, man. So let's go to the NLT. All right, Galatians chapter 3, verse 24 in the NLT, it says, let me put it another way. All right, let me put it another way. The law was our guardian until Hamashiach came. It was predicted unto us like it was protected unto us until we could be made right with the Most High through faith. You see what I'm saying? This thing was set in place. All right, it was set in place in order to prepare us for Yahushua coming, in order to prepare us. You see, but does that mean that we don't keep the laws? Of course we do. All right, of course we do. As a matter of fact, let me go to Romans. Romans chapter 3 and verse 31. All right. Romans chapter 3 and verse 31. Let's get verse 30. It says, seeing it is one power which shall justify the circumcision by faith and uncircumcision through faith. You see? Do we then make void the law through faith? God forbid. Yeah, we established the law. You see? This doesn't take away the importance of the law simply because faith is in place. All right. Romans chapter 7. All right, Romans chapter 7 and verse 7. It reads, what shall we say then? Is the law sin? God forbid. Nay, I had not known sin but by the law. For I had not known lust, except the law had said, thou shalt not covet. You see what I'm saying? Slovakia. Real quick. All right. Verse 8, but sin, taking occasion by the commandment, wrought in me all manner of concupiscence. For without the law, sin is dead. Okay? So the Lord put this law in place because without the law, there's what? There's anarchy, there's chaos everywhere. You see what I'm saying? Before the law was scribed on tablets, what were they? They were orally passed down. Okay? Throughout the times of the sons of God, you see what I'm saying, which we were before we were known as Israelites. Okay, we didn't have the law scribed on tablets. They were simply brought down through oral tradition. Okay, tongue twister, but oral tradition. You know what I'm saying? From Adam to Seth. You see what I'm saying? To Enoch, to Methuselah, to Noah, to Shem, to Arphaxad, so on and so forth. You see what I'm saying? The law was passed down traditionally through oral tradition, right? Going to the NLT, it reads, "What then? Am I suggesting that the law of God is sinful? Of course not. In fact, it was the law that showed me my sin. I would never have known that coveting is wrong if the law had not said you must not covet." You see what I'm saying? If the law wasn't in place, all right, I wouldn't know that that checking out this other guy's wife was a sin. You see what I'm saying? All right, but the law was meant to be a schoolmaster. Okay, and I gotta hurry this up, man. It's a lot to cover in this.
But of course, I don't understand any of that because I'm an Israelite.
That's right! That's right! That's right! That's right!
I'm a Christian. Of course, I live by every word that proceeds out of the mouth of Paul and not every word that proceeds out of the mouth of the Father. Duh.
I'm an Israelite, so of course I don't like Paul because his teachings completely debunk a lot of the myths that we hold to be true. And we want to continue to stay stuck in what is in the Old Testament law without understanding how its fulfillment is found in the New Testament.
Yeah, and this is the thing, man. This is the thing. You have these Israelites, you know what I'm saying, particular camps, all right, particular camps who dismiss Paul's writings. You see what I'm saying? And it goes into the lack of understanding. All right. Much of this falls on the feet of shall we say Sakari. Okay. Sakari was very big on this. Okay, they reject everything of what Paul's writings state. You see what I'm saying? Why? Because they wanted to do their own thing. You know what I'm saying? All right. The scriptures say that you're not to cover your head when you're out preaching or when you're prophesying. You know what I'm saying? When you're praying and whatnot, as a man, you're not supposed to cover your head. Okay, but since they wanted to wear fitted caps, okay, at camp. You know, they said, "Oh well, Paul's writings are not authoritative." You see what I'm saying? All right, and that goes into the division that is necessary. Okay, it's necessary that there would be different sects. You know what I'm saying? SECT within this faith. All right, because it's meant to narrow down the truth so that the elect can find that truth. You see what I'm saying? Not everybody's supposed to have access to this. Okay? But that's something that's a mystery that not everybody can receive. Okay, so let me go to the book of 2 Peter. All right. Real quick. Okay, 2 Peter chapter 3 and verse 15, it reads, "An account that the long suffering of our Lord is salvation, even as our beloved brother Paul, also according to the wisdom given unto him, have written unto you." So this is the Apostle Peter, the head apostle. Okay, he's speaking on the Apostle Paul. All right, and he's going into the writings and the epistles of what Paul had wrote in his many travels. Okay. Verse 16, "As also in all his epistles, speaking in them of these things, in which are some things hard to be understood." You see what I'm saying? "In which are some things hard to be understood, which they that are unlearned and unstable wrest, as they do also the other scriptures unto their own destruction." You see what I'm saying? So both this female and both this bald-headed nigga, all right, both of them are off. You see what I'm saying? Because neither of them understand Paul's writings. Okay? As I say all the time, in order for you to understand Paul's writings, you have to first understand the Old Testament. And you also have a working understanding, a complete understanding of what happened during the Greek captivity. Okay? The Greek captivity, which is recorded in the first and second books of Maccabees. Okay? And that is in the Apocrypha. If you don't understand what went down, all right, during the Diadochi, okay, and the rule of Antiochus, you're not going to understand what Paul is writing about and what he's talking about. You see what I'm saying? You're not going to understand the Greeks or the Jews. You're not going to understand the difference between these different subtitles, if you will. All right? You're just going to take these things for face value without any understanding. You're literally skipping a whole 400 years, okay, of oppression, a whole beast, as the scriptures say. Okay, a whole beast, man. You have 4 beasts that was written in the book of Daniel. To skip the Greek captivity is to skip the 3rd beast and to go right from the 2nd beast to the 4th beast. And that's why all these Christians have such a misunderstanding of what Paul is even writing about. Okay, so again, verse 16, as also in all his epistles, speaking in them of these things, in which are some things hard to be understood, which they which are unlearned and unstable rest, as they do also the other scriptures unto their own destruction. You see what I'm saying? Let me see if I can get that in NLT. All right. This may have to be a second part. I might not be able to get into all this. All right. Let's get it in the NLT. 2 Peter chapter 3, verse 15. And remember, our Lord's patience gives people time to be saved. All right. And that's going into the Israelites, man. This is what our beloved brother Paul also wrote to you within the wisdom that the Most High gave him. All right. Verse 16. Speaking of these things in all of his letters, some of his comments are hard to understand, and those who are ignorant and unstable have twisted his letters to mean something quite different, just as they do with other parts of the scripture, and this will result in their destruction. Okay, let me get this in the book of Isaiah chapter 29. All right, Isaiah chapter 29 and verse 11. It reads, and the vision of all is become unto you as the words of a book that is sealed, which men deliver to one that is learned, saying, read this, I pray thee. And he saith, I cannot, for it is sealed. Okay, so you go into these different scholars, all right, biblical scholars who've gone to theologian school, you know what I'm saying, theology seminaries and whatnot, okay, who've studied the Bible for 30 years, 40 years and whatnot, and you ask them to break down these particular parables and these prophecies, and they can't do it, okay? It says, I pray thee, and he saith, I cannot, for it is sealed. Verse 12, and the book is delivered to him that is not learned, saying, read this, I pray thee, and he saith, I am not learned. So you can go to an everyday, ordinary Christian, you know what I'm saying, so-called Christian who's been in the church for like 30 to 40 years, listening to their pastor, and you can ask them to break down Daniel chapter 7. And they can't do that. They can't do that. You see what I'm saying? So I cannot, because I am not learned. You see? So all these jokers are not capable of going into the mysteries which are within these scriptures, man. Let's go to Amos. Okay? Only the prophets are able to do that. Amos chapter 3 and verse 7. It reads, "Surely the Lord power will do nothing, but he revealeth his secret unto his servants the prophets." You see what I'm saying? Let's continue.
But of course, I don't understand any of that because I'm an Israelite.
That's right. That's right. That's right. That's right.
I'm a Christian. Of course, I keep all the pagan holidays, and I will not bat an eye at any of the Father's holy days. I mean, like, what Christian does that?
I'm an Israelite, so all I'm going to ever do is accuse Christians of celebrating pagan holidays like Christmas and Easter, but I'm never going to provide any evidence of how those holidays are actually pagan. All I'm going to do is try to connect them to people like Ishtar and Yostra and Osiris and Horus, and then when Christians debunk them, I'll insult them because I don't have any actual evidence. I just want to make claims. And my favorite claim is that Jeremiah 10 is about a Christmas tree. So I'm going to completely abuse that text and misinterpret it because I'm an Israelite.
No, it's really not that hard, quite frankly. It's not that hard to see that these particular rituals, if you will, go back to pagan holidays or pagan ceremonies. You know what I'm saying? It's not hard to catch that. You know what I'm saying? All you gotta do is just look. All right. When you go into Christmas, it goes into Saturnalia. Saturnalia has its roots in the Babylonian Babylonian traditions. You see what I'm saying? When you go to let's say Valentine's Day, for example, Valentine's Day goes back to the pagan ceremony called Lupercalia. You know what I'm saying? If I'm saying that right, Lupercalia. You know what I'm saying? It's not hard to see that when you look at Easter. You know what I'm saying? What the hell does a bunny and eggs have to do with the Heavenly Father and his beloved Son? You see what I'm saying? What does that have to do with anything? All right. Bunnies don't lay eggs. You see what I'm saying? Okay. But a bunny represents fertility. You see what I'm saying? When you look at these eggs, why do you paint these eggs? You see? Nobody ever asks these questions. They just go about the same dogma that they've been taught. You see what I'm saying? It's not hard to look these things up. It's really not. You know what I'm saying? When you go back to Ishtar, when you go back to Ashtoreth, all right? The fact that you don't wish to look at it, you know what I'm saying? That's none of my concern. All right? But nevertheless, this is Jeremiah chapter 10 and verse 1. It says, "Hear ye the word which the Lord speaketh unto you, O house of Israel, O house of Yasher Allah. Thus saith Yahweh, learn not the way of the heathen, and be not dismayed at the signs of heaven, for the heathen are dismayed at them." You see what I'm saying? And then when you go further on, it literally goes into a custom, all right, that was kept in Jerusalem, in Salakia. It goes into a custom that was kept in the ancient Babylon, customs, man. You know what I'm saying? When you go into the origins of Abraham, okay, before he was Abraham, he was Abel, you know, and where did he live? He lived in the land of Ur, all right, Ur of the Chaldeans. You see, and that was in Babel, all right, or Babylon. So, what was Abel's father doing? Okay, Abel's father was a pagan worshiper. You see what I'm saying? Let me get this real quick. Bear with me. All right, so as I said, Abram's father, all right, Abram's father and his brethren, you know what I'm saying? Specifically, his father was an idol worshiper. Okay, and Abraham, all right, who was Abram at the time, he was raised in that custom of serving idols, you see, of worshiping idols. So this is Joshua chapter 24 and verse 15. It reads, "And if it seem evil unto you to serve the Lord Yahweh, choose you this day whom ye will serve, whether the gods which your fathers served that were on the other side of the flood, or the gods of the Amorites, in whose land ye dwell. But as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. Right? Jump to NLT. Okay. In the NLT, it reads, "But if you refuse to serve the Lord Yahweh, then choose today whom you will serve. Will you prefer the gods your ancestors served beyond the Euphrates? Or will it be the gods of the Amorites in those lands you now live? But as for me and my family, we will serve the Lord Yahweh." You see what I'm saying? So it's not hard to see that all these customs that are carried on here today have their origins, all right, in the distant past. You see what I'm saying? So that's according to his ignorance, man, as the scriptures say. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. So that's up to him, man.
And I almost forgot, because I'm an Israelite, I'm going to make no attempt at all to understand how all of the feasts and holy days described in Leviticus 23 find their fulfillment in Jesus Christ, because my religion is not really about exalting Jesus. It's about exalting my ethnicity. And if you push me into a corner, I'm just going to make a wild claim about how all of this stuff was started with Constantine and the...
Right. And as I just explained, the law was a schoolmaster meant to lead us to Yahushua. You know what I'm saying? But that doesn't mean that we don't keep these customs. That doesn't mean that we don't continue to follow the ways of what the Lord has set for us. You see what I'm saying? The only thing that changed now is the act of sacrifice. The only thing that changed now is the fact that we are not held or bound to the consequence of the law. You see what I'm saying? To its detriment. You see what I'm saying? Like I said, in the letter of the law, if you commit adultery, let's say if you commit adultery, all right, that means that you're punishable by death. You know what I'm saying? It's punishable by death, literally. You see what I'm saying? Well, if a woman is a virgin, then you're not going off. But if the woman is not a virgin and you get with this woman, all right, let's say this woman, all right, she's not a virgin, and the one who broke her virginity, he's still alive. Okay? That means that you're both adulterers. Under the letter of the law, that means that you're both adulterers. You're both set for destruction, and you're both set to be sentenced to death. You see what I'm saying? I know damn well, by that standard, I am an adulterer. You see what I'm saying? Because I've been with women who have not been virgins. Okay? How many of you women have been with multiple men? You see? So this is what the Lord's sacrifice was meant to do. It was meant to free us from the pain of death. All right, the pain of the law. You know what I'm saying? In which we're all trying to receive that sure mercies of David, man. We're all hoping to receive that. Okay, so what did the Lord bring us into? He brought us into what's known as a grace period. He brought us into grace. Okay, this grace is not something that's perpetual, all right, and stays forever. No, grace has a time period. All right, and within this time period, you're to keep these laws to the best of your ability to show the Lord that you actually mean what you say. Because back then it was like we had to keep these laws with a gun pointed to our face. You know what I'm saying? Keep these laws or else. Well, we no longer we're no longer under that standard. You see? Which means we now have the liberty to keep these laws. Okay? Without that threat looming over us, man. You see what I'm saying? Let's go to 2nd Esdras. All right, 2 Esdras chapter 9. And let's hit verse 9. It reads, Then shall they be in pitiful case, which now have abused my ways, and they that have cast them away despitefully shall dwell in torments. For such as in their life have received benefits, and have not known me, and they that have loathed my law, while they had yet liberty, and when as yet place of repentance was open unto them, understood not, but despised it, the same must know it after death by pain. You see what I'm saying? So this grace is not something that's meant to be taken for granted. It's not something that you can say, oh, well, I'm under grace, so I can just do whatever the fuck I want. No, man. All right? The Lord never said that. Let me get this real quick. Bear with me. All right, this is the book of Sirach, chapter 15 and verse 18. And it reads, For the wisdom of the Lord is great, and he is mighty in power, and beholdeth all things. And his eyes are upon them that fear him, and he knoweth every work of man. He hath commanded no man to do wickedly. He hath commanded no man to do wickedly, neither hath he given any man license to sin. But if you listen to this cat on the screen, he'll tell you that that's not the case. He'll tell you that the Lord said you can do whatever the hell you want to. You see what I'm saying? That's not it. Okay? You do err not knowing the scriptures, man.
Council of Nicaea.
That's right.
I'm a Christian. Of course I eat pork and seafood and even an ass of an alligator. Now I am aware that the Father said he's going to consume all those who eat that at the same time, but I'm going to eat it anyways because I'm a Christian.
I'm an Israelite, so of course I'm going to make no attempt to understand the context of the dietary restrictions given in the Old Testament, and I'm going to completely ignore Jesus' words that it's not what goes into the mouth that defiles a man, but what comes out of his mouth.
That's right.
Yeah, and they this nigga's stupid. And this guy completely misunderstands what that says. You know what I'm saying? All right, it's not what goes into a man, all right, that defiles a man, but what comes out of a man. You know, it's going into what? It's going into your conduct. All right, it's going into your conduct. You see what I'm saying? It's not going into what you're eating. It's going into your conduct, man. You see what I'm saying? That's not hard to understand. You know, and then people will go to the book of Acts, all right, the 10th chapter, and they'll talk about Cornelius, and they'll talk about the fact that the Lord came to Apostle Peter in a dream, and he showed him all these abominable foods, and he said, eat them. You know what I'm saying? Don't call what I have called clean unclean. You know what I'm saying? It was literally, all right. It was literally a puzzle. You know, it was a puzzle. It wasn't meant to be literal. Okay. Even Peter had admitted to that, right? Because it wasn't about the food. It wasn't about the food. It was about the Israelite foreigners, okay, who were being seen as Gentiles, who were being seen as undesirable, you see, who are being seen as aliens from the Commonwealth. All right. Again, if you do not understand the history of what went down in the Greek captivity, then you won't understand what is being said here. What's being conducted. All right. Why were those Israelites looking at other Israelites in such a way as if they were no different than heathens? You see? Why were they doing this? This is Acts chapter 10 and verse 16. It says, This was done thrice, and the vessel was received up again into heaven. Now while Peter doubted in himself what this vision which he had seen should mean, behold, the men which were sent from Cornelius had made inquiry for Simon's house, and stood before the gate. All right. And jumping down, verse 25. And as Peter was coming in, Cornelius met him and fell down at his feet and worshipped him. And Peter took him up, saying, Stand up, I myself also am a man. And as he talked with them, he went in and found many that were come together, and he said unto them, Ye know how that it is an unlawful thing for a man that is a Jew to keep company or come unto one that is of another nation. All right. And what did he mean by that? All right. He meant that these jokers were of the Italian band under the Romans. You see what I'm saying? All right. And they saw themselves as under these Greeks. All right. Under these different customs. You see what I'm saying? The same thing. It's no different, man. When you look at the Colossians, all right, the book of the Colossians was the Apostle Paul going to speak to Israelites who were scattered in Colossus. When you look at the book of Ephesians, it was nothing but the Apostle Paul going to speak to Israelites that were scattered in Ephesus. You see what I'm saying? The book of Philippians, the Apostle Paul was speaking to Israelites that were scattered in Philippi. So on and so forth. You see? So this is what it was talking about. All right. Israelites of another nation. You see what I'm saying? Here we are. I myself, I'm an American. Okay. I am an Hebrew Israelite. My lineage goes back to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Okay. Of my own respective tribe. But I live in America, so that I'm what? I am an American. You see what I'm saying? So it's the same thing. It is Israelites that were scattered into the different nations where they were at. Okay? So it says, But God hath showed me that I should not call any man common or unclean. Okay, and that's going into what? It's going into the very people that Paul himself was being sent to. Okay? Who were scattered. When you go into this word for scattered, it goes into the Greek word diaspora. Okay?
I'm a Christian. Although the Father has increased his knowledge, just like he promised in the end times, I'm going to proceed to call him Jesus and God because those are the traditions of men that I love. It truly doesn't matter how important he said that his son's name is. It's all about how I feel because I'm a Christian.
I'm an Israelite. So of course, I'm going to make up names like Yahuwah and Yahusha that are not found in any Hebrew lexicon. They come from places like the Sefer Bible, which no person who's ever been trained in Hebrew, who has any education in actual Hebrew, but they came together and created the Sefer Bible and then let us know on their own website that none of the people involved in the creation of the Sefer Bible actually have any credentials. But none of that stuff.
Right. And these people don't have a working knowledge of the Hebrew. All right. That's why you'll see them still use, you'll still see them use, consonant vowels, all right, in the Hebrew language when it's not there. You see what I'm saying? All right. Let me show you something real quick. Let me give you a quick crash course in Hebrew. Bear with me. All right. So this is just a quick chart that can show you the all the letters of the Hebrew alphabet. All right. All the letters. Now you can take a screenshot of this and you can go and study them yourself. All right. So you have here. Okay. When we read Hebrew, we read from right to left. Okay. The same way it's done in Japan. All right. This is what we call the Lashawan Kodash. All right, the Lashawan Kodash. Lashawan mean language and Kodash means holy. You see what I'm saying? So you have the first letter being A, next one Ba, Ga, Da, Ha, Wa, Za, Cha, Ta, Ya, Ka, La, Ma, Na, Sa, I, Pa, Taza, Kwa, Ra, Sha, Tha. Okay? And all these letters at the bottom are the Assyrian counterparts. Okay? What you're seeing at the top is the phonetic paleo, which is the original Hebrew script. And down here, you're seeing the Assyrian script. All right? Which is the common language, all right, or the common way of using these Hebrew languages, all right, the Hebrew language. So the Hebrew letters that are used today is the Assyrian script. You see what I'm saying? The same thing. Abba, ga, da, ha, wa, za, cha, ta, ya, ka, lama, nasa, I, pa, taza, kwa, ra, sha, tha. Okay? And Tha is the last letter of the Hebrew language. You see what I'm saying? Every Hebrew language, every Hebrew letter has a numerical value to it as well. You see what I'm saying? So that's just a quick crash course in the Hebrew. You see what I'm saying? So there's no U's in the Hebrew language. There's no U, there's no V, there's no J, there's no O. Okay, there's no E. I believe I said that already, but you get the point. All right. So let's go back. All right. As a matter of fact, I wanted to continue on with this little Hebrew lesson. Just to bring it to you, where the Lord's name. All right. When you read the scriptures and you come across the word Lord, and it's in all caps, that's talking about the Lord's name, the Heavenly Father's name, okay? And when you break it down, what does it say? It says Yahweh, all right, Yahweh. That's Strong's H3068, Yahweh, all right? Again, this is the Assyrian script right at the top. The highlighted part right here, it says, all right, Yah, ha, wa, ha. Okay? Yahweh. You read it from right to left. See what I'm saying? Yahweh. All right? That's just to help you understand. Now the word Yah, because a lot of Israelites like to use Yah. They say that the Heavenly Father's name is Yah. That's not correct. All right? The word Yah simply means he. All right. Hawa means is or exist. All right. To exist. So Yahweh meaning he exists or he is. You see what I'm saying? So that's the true proper name of the Heavenly Father. All right. His name in the Hebrew is Yahweh. And that is the name that you cry to. That's the name that you pray to. You see? And you pray to that name, Yahweh, Ba Hashem, meaning in the name. Ba, meaning in. Ha, meaning the. And Shem, meaning name. All right? In the name of Yahushai. Yahushai is the name of the Heavenly Father's beloved Son. Okay? Yah, meaning he. Yahushai, meaning deliver. Okay? Just a quick lesson in the Hebrew language. All right, bear with me.
Credentials, but none of that stuff matters to me. I'm just going to make up a name because I'm an Israelite.
That's right. That's right. That's right. That's right.
I'm a Christian. Of course, I'm waiting on the rapture instead of waiting on the second Exodus that the Father himself is about to perform at this time. So yeah, I'm going to ignore the fact that in Matthew 24, he said that he's going to come after the tribulation. So I'm just still going to prepare and wait for him before the tribulation because I'm a Christian.
Israelite. So of course I don't really understand eschatology. I've never really been discipled to understand how to read the Bible in context. So I'm just going to Hebrew hopscotch all throughout the scriptures and create my own interpretation of what it actually says. Because I'm an Israelite, I think that the entire Bible is about me. And I'm just going to ignore Genesis 12:3 where it says that the Israelites were raised up to be a blessing to all people. And Revelation 7:9 where it says people of all ethnicities and nationalities were gathered around the throne of God. But I'm going to forget about all.
Nope. Nope, that's incorrect. All right, let's go to first. Let's address this whole rapture thing. All right, according to the rapture, according to his eschatological, all right, perspective of the scriptures, if you will. Okay, the way that they see this whole rapture thing going is that you'll be taken away. All right, before all the hell breaks loose, before all crazy stuff goes on. You know what I'm saying? And the rest that'll be left over. All right, left behind. They'll have 7 years to get right before, before they all have to face the Antichrist or some shit. You know what I'm saying? And none of that is in the scriptures. Okay, this is Acts chapter 14, verse 22. It says, confirming the souls of the disciples and exhorting them to continue in the faith, and that we must, through much tribulation, enter into the kingdom. Okay, all you got to do is just go straight to the Lord's Prayer. Okay, and you can understand that there is no getting out of this. There is no being whisked up out of this thing. You see what I'm saying? We're going to have to go through this. John chapter 17. All right, John chapter 17 and verse 14, it reads, I have given them thy word, and the world hath hated them, because they are not of the world, even as I am not of the world. I pray not that thou shouldest take them out of the world, but that thou shouldest keep them from the evil. You see what I'm saying? We're going to be going through this thing, but the Lord is going to be protecting us through it. You see what I'm saying? That's what that's talking about. It's not talking about being whisked away. It's not talking about being taken away from all this hell on earth, okay, and not having to go through anything. You see? The scriptures say when you seek out your salvation, man, seek it out in fear and trembling. You see? So let's address his whole situation. All right. Talking about the whole world will be saved. Okay. That's not the case. All right. Revelation chapter 7. And let's get verse 9, because the actual fact, when you go into the chapter of Revelation chapter 7, okay, it starts off with the 144,000, all right, 12,000 men out of each tribe, all right, 12,000 men out of each tribe, okay, who will be that governing body, okay, the very government that is spoken of in the book of Isaiah chapter 9, verse 6. You see what I'm saying? Those are the ones that will be ruling with Yahushua. Okay, but what is this large multitude that is speaking about? All right, it says, after this, Revelation 7 and 9, it says, after this I beheld, and lo, a great multitude which no man could number, of all nations and kindreds and people. All right, that's the point. And kindreds, right? Of all nations and kindreds and people and tongues stood before the throne and before the Lamb, clothed with white robes and palms in their hands, and cried with a loud voice, saying, salvation to our power which sitteth upon the throne and unto the Lamb. You see what I'm saying? Now it's talking about kindreds. It's talking about, all right, out of every nation, out of every tongue. You see? Now remember what I taught you earlier. Okay, when you go into that word for scattered, it's going into the Greek word diaspora. All right, diaspora. Let me get this real quick. All right. This is let me get this. All right, James chapter 1 and verse 1. It says, James, the servant of the servant of the Most High and of the Lord Yahushua Hamashiach, to the 12 tribes which are scattered abroad, greetings. Okay? To the 12 tribes which are scattered abroad, Salakia. All right? To the 12 tribes scattered abroad, greetings. And let me get this here. All right, the Greek word is diaspora. Okay, so let's go to, all right, Second Esdras, chapter 13. All right, Second Esdras, chapter 13, and verse 1, it says, "And it came to pass after 7 days, I dreamed a dream by night, and lo, there arose a wind from the sea, that it moved all the waves thereof." All right, this is speaking about when Yahushua returns. "And I beheld, and lo, this man waxed strong with the thousands of heaven. And when he turned his countenance to look, all the things trembled that were seen under him." All right, you can literally stop the video and go read. All right, go read the book of Habakkuk, the 3rd chapter, 16th verse. You see what I'm saying? It says, verse 4, "And whensoever the voice went out of his mouth, all they burned that heard his voice, like as the earth faileth when it feeleth the fire. And after this I beheld, and lo, there was gathered together a great multitude, a multitude of men out of number, from the four winds of the heaven, to subdue the man." Oh, Salakia. Oh, damn it. I'm in the wrong spot. Salakia. Let me get this. Man, I'm running out of time. Boy, oh boy. Oh, well, that's embarrassing. So this is 2nd Esdras chapter 2. All right, 2nd Esdras chapter 2 and verse 38. All right, 2nd Esdras 2 and 38. All right, it's like 11:15 right now, so I'm kind of tired. So bear with me, Akim. It reads, "Arise up and stand. Behold, the number of those that be sealed in the feast of the Lord, which are departed from the shadow of the world, and have received glorious garments of the Lord. Take thy number, O Zion, and shut up those of thine that are clothed in white." This is the same vision that the prophet Ezra is having that correlates directly with the prophet John the Revelator. You see what I'm saying? Apostle John the Revelator. They both had the same vision. Okay? Take thy number, O Zion, and shut up those of thine that are clothed in white, which have fulfilled the law of the Lord. The number of thy children, whom thou longest for, is fulfilled. Beseech the power of the Lord, that thy people which have been called from the beginning may be hallowed. All right? So, okay, and you can continue on in that chapter, but it pretty much, all right, it pretty much expounds on what the Apostle John the Revelator had seen. Okay? These were Israelites. When you go to the book of Revelation, chapter 7, verse 9, it's talking about the Israelites. All right, Israelites that had been scattered. Okay? You go to 2nd Esdras, the 2nd chapter. All right, starting at the 22nd verse. All right, those are Israelites. You see what I'm saying? Unfortunately, I won't be able to finish the rest, but maybe I might revisit this tomorrow. But in any case, man, this is why we don't deal with you Christians, man. You know what I'm saying? Because you just don't have it. You know what I'm saying? You don't have it, man, with your bald face and it's just all over the place with these guys. You know what I'm saying? It's just all over the place. But in any case, I'm going to cut that there. I pray this lesson was edifying to the elect of the nation of Israel. This has been your brother, Zakaria Allah, branched out here in Williamsport, Pennsylvania. In closing, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem Rakak Wadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who rule well